Welcome to the Haunting Horror channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, put a like and write a comment on this video. Have a good time. Darkness enveloped the night, shrouding the sins committed by Hansel and Gretel. The moon cast an eerie glow on the desolate alley where their latest victim lay lifeless. Blood stained the cobblestones, a stark reminder of the wickedness that had transpired. Hansel wiped the blade of his knife on his trousers, his eyes gleaming with a twisted satisfaction. Another one bites the dust, he muttered, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Gretel, her face pale and eyes filled with a mix of fear and excitement, glanced nervously at the lifeless body before her. "Hansel, we shouldn't have done this," she whispered, her voice quivering. "We're treading on dangerous ground." Hansel turned to his sister, his eyes narrowing. "Dangerous? That's what makes it thrilling, Gretel," he said with a chilling grin. "We were born for this, to defy the norms and embrace our darkest desires." Gretel shook her head, her hands trembling. "But what about the consequences? The authorities are closing in on us. Hansel, we can't keep running forever." Hansel's laughter echoed through the alley, a haunting sound that sent shivers down Gretel's spine. "Consequences? They'll never catch us, Gretel. We're too clever, too cunning for them. Besides, we're just getting started." As they slipped away into the night, leaving behind a trail of fear and death, the darkness seemed to welcome them with open arms. Little did they know that their twisted journey was about to take an unexpected turn, plunging them into a nightmarish abyss from which there would be no escape. The dense forest swallowed Hansel and Gretel as they sprinted deeper into its mysterious depths. The branches clawed at their clothes, as if the very trees themselves were trying to hold them back. Gretel, gasping for breath, glanced back, her heart pounding. "Hansel, we can't keep running like this. They're closing in on us." Hansel's eyes darted around, his mind racing with adrenaline. "We have to keep going, Gretel," he replied, his voice laced with determination. "We can't let them catch us. Not after everything we've done." They continued their desperate escape, their footsteps echoing through the forest. Fear surged within them, pushing them forward, their crimes weighing heavy on their conscience. The forest seemed to come alive around them, whispering secrets and casting ominous shadows. Gretel stumbled over a tree root and fell to the ground, her hands scraped and trembling. "I can't go on, Hansel," she sobbed, her voice filled with exhaustion and fear. "We're monsters. We can't outrun our own darkness." Hansel knelt beside his sister, his eyes softening with a mix of sympathy and desperation. "We are what we are, Gretel," he whispered, gently lifting her up. "But we can't let it consume us. We have to keep moving forward, no matter what." Their breaths heavy, they pressed on, each step taking them further away from their pursuers but deeper into the heart of their own twisted destiny. The whispers of the forest grew louder, their sinister melody resonating through the trees as if the very soul of the woods reveled in their wickedness. As they disappeared into the shadows of the forest, a sense of foreboding settled upon them. Little did they know that their desperate flight was merely the beginning of a harrowing journey into the heart of darkness, where the line between predator and prey would blur, and their own sins would become their most relentless pursuers. In the dilapidated shack where Hansel and Gretel grew up, poverty clung to the air like a suffocating fog. The walls were adorned with tattered remnants of their childhood, a stark reminder of the hardships they endured. It was within these walls that their mischievous acts took root, laying the foundation for their descent into darkness. Hansel sat on a worn-out mattress, his gaze fixed on a cracked mirror. "We were born into nothing, Gretel," he muttered, his voice tinged with bitterness. "No one cared for us. We had to make our own way in this cruel world. Gretel, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and defiance, approached her brother. "But we didn't have to turn to this," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of their shared history. "We could have chosen a different path." Hansel's laughter echoed through the room, a bitter sound that reverberated off the peeling wallpaper. "Different path? What good would that have done, Gretel?" he replied, his tone laced with resentment. "The world doesn't care about people like us. We had to take what we wanted, by any means necessary." Gretel clenched her fists, her face etched with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "But look at what we've become," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We've become monsters, Hansel. We've lost ourselves in this darkness." Hansel's eyes hardened, his grip tightening on the edge of the mattress. "Monsters? No, Gretel. We are survivors," he declared, his voice filled with a twisted sense of pride. "We've shown the world that we won't be forgotten. We won't be pushed aside." As they stood in the dimly lit room, the weight of their shared past hung heavy in the air. The choices they had made, the path they had taken, had led them to this moment of reckoning. In the depths of their souls, they both knew that their journey was far from over, that the darkness that had consumed them would continue to shape their twisted fate. Little did they realize that their choices, their history, would catch up to them in ways they could never have imagined. The sins they had committed would haunt them, their actions leaving an indelible mark on their souls. The horrors that lay ahead would test the limits of their humanity, pushing them deeper into the abyss from which they may never escape. The dense woods whispered secrets as Hansel and Gretel ventured further into the heart of darkness. Their footsteps echoed through the eerie silence, guiding them to an old, decrepit house nestled within the trees. It stood like a forgotten relic, its windows cracked and its walls sagging with age. Gretel cautiously approached the door, her hand trembling as she reached for the worn-out brass doorknob. "Hansel, do you think anyone lives here?" she asked, her voice filled with trepidation. Hansel, his eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and mischief, grinned at his sister. "There's only one way to find out," he replied, his voice laced with excitement. "Let's see what secrets this old place holds." As they stepped inside, the air grew thick with a musty scent, a stale reminder of years gone by. The house seemed frozen in time, its rooms filled with forgotten memories and hidden stories. Gretel's eyes widened as she took in the sight of an old woman sitting by the fireplace. Her silver hair cascaded down her hunched shoulders, and her eyes seemed to hold a wisdom far beyond her years. "Welcome, children," the old woman croaked, her voice creaking like the ancient floorboards beneath them. "You've come seeking refuge, haven't you?" Hansel exchanged a glance with Gretel, a flicker of suspicion crossing his eyes. "How did you know?" he asked, his voice tinged with caution. The old woman smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. "I've been expecting you," she replied cryptically. "Come, sit by the fire. Let me share a meal with you." Gretel's unease lingered, but curiosity got the better of her. She tentatively sat down, her eyes darting around the room. "What's your name?" she asked, attempting to break the tension that hung in the air. The old woman chuckled softly, her voice carrying a hint of mystery. "Names hold little significance in this place," she said, her gaze locked with Gretel's. "But you may call me host for now." As the flames crackled and danced in the hearth, the siblings shared a meal with the enigmatic host. An air of anticipation mingled with unease as they were drawn into a web of intrigue and uncertainty. Little did they know that their initial plans would be upended, and the true nature of the old woman and her house would unravel before their very eyes. Their journey into the heart of darkness was far from over, and the secrets that awaited them within the walls of the house would forever change their twisted fate. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape. Hansel and Gretel stood at the threshold of an abandoned asylum, its decaying facade a testament to the horrors that lay within. The air was heavy with a palpable sense of dread, as if the very walls whispered tales of madness and despair. Gretel hesitated, her eyes fixed on the foreboding entrance. "Hansel, are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and uncertainty. "We've already delved so deep into darkness. Can we handle what awaits us inside?" Hansel's gaze hardened, his determination unwavering. "We've come too far to turn back now," Gretel replied, his voice resolute. "This place holds the answers we seek. We must face our fears head-on." They stepped into the asylum, the creaking floors echoing their apprehension. The corridors were lined with peeling wallpaper, the paint faded and cracked. The air was thick with a haunting stillness, broken only by the faint sound of distant whispers. Gretel clutched her brother's arm, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you hear that, Hansel? Those whispers? They're driving me mad," she said, her eyes darting nervously from one dark corner to another. Hansel's hand tightened around Gretel's, offering a semblance of reassurance. "Keep your wits about you, Gretel. We can't let this place consume us," he urged, his voice tinged with a mix of caution and determination. They ventured deeper into the asylum, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Shadows danced along the walls, their shapes morphing into grotesque forms that seemed to mock the siblings' presence. As they rounded a corner, they stumbled upon a group of survivors huddled together, their faces etched with a mix of fear and desperation. One of them, a woman with haunted eyes, stepped forward. "You shouldn't have come here," she warned, her voice filled with a chilling urgency. "This place feeds on darkness, preys on the lost souls who dare to enter." Gretel's voice quivered as she spoke, her words laced with a lingering hope. "We're searching for redemption," she confessed, her eyes locking with the woman's. "We want to escape the path we've chosen. Can this place offer us salvation?" The woman's expression softened, a glimmer of empathy in her eyes. "Redemption lies within, but the path is treacherous," she replied, her voice a somber melody. "Face your demons, confront your deepest fears, and perhaps, just perhaps, you may find the redemption you seek." As the survivors vanished into the shadows, Hansel and Gretel exchanged a resolute glance. Their journey into the asylum had just begun, and the horrors that awaited them within its walls would test the very limits of their resolve. Redemption, if it existed at all, would demand a price they never could have imagined. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the desolate graveyard. Hansel and Gretel stood before a weathered tombstone, their hearts heavy with a mixture of grief and determination. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the echoes of lost souls. Gretel knelt down, her fingers tracing the letters, etched into the cold stone. "We failed them, Hansel," she murmured, her voice choked with sorrow. "Our actions brought so much pain and suffering." Hansel knelt beside her, his voice filled with regret. "We were blinded by our own darkness," he admitted, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But we can't let our past define us. We must find a way to make amends." As they rose to their feet, a figure emerged from the shadows, a spectral presence with a ghostly pallor. The ghostly figure spoke, its voice a haunting whisper that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "You seek redemption, do you not?" the ghost asked, its voice ethereal and filled with ancient knowledge. Gretel's voice trembled as she responded, her words filled with a mix of desperation and hope. "We've done terrible things, but we want to set things right," she confessed, her eyes pleading with the ghostly figure. "Is there a way to atone for our sins?" The ghostly figure nodded, its form shimmering in the moonlight. "Redemption requires sacrifice," it replied, its words resonating through the graveyard. "You must face your darkest fears and confront the shadows that have consumed you." Hansel's voice grew resolute, determination shining in his eyes. "We're ready to face whatever lies ahead," he declared, his voice steady and filled with a newfound resolve. "We will make amends, no matter the cost." As the ghostly figure faded into the darkness, a path materialized before them, leading to an ancient, decrepit mansion. Its halls were shrouded in darkness, its walls whispering secrets and regrets. Gretel took a deep breath, her voice filled with determination. "This is it, Hansel," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. "We must confront our demons, face the darkness within ourselves, and find the redemption we so desperately seek." Hansel clasped Gretel's hand, a silent promise passing between them. Together, they stepped into the mansion, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The horrors that awaited them would test their resolve, push them to the brink, but they were determined to confront their sins and find a glimmer of salvation amidst the shadows. Little did they know that the mansion held secrets far beyond their imagination, and the true nature of their journey would be revealed in ways that would challenge their very notions of reality and redemption. The final chapter of their twisted tale had begun, and the price they would pay for their past deeds would be more than they could ever have anticipated. The night was thick with an otherworldly silence as Hansel and Gretel entered the abandoned attic of the ancient mansion. The air hung heavy with a sense of finality, as if the very walls were urging them to uncover the truth hidden within its depths. The attic's wooden floorboards creaked beneath their weight, as if echoing the weight of their journey. Gretel gazed around, her eyes drawn to a dusty, ornately carved mirror that stood in the corner. Its surface seemed to shimmer, reflecting distorted images that hinted at a world beyond their own. "Hansel, what do you think this mirror represents?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Hansel approached the mirror cautiously, his reflection staring back at him with a haunting familiarity. "It's more than just a mirror," he mused, his voice filled with a mix of wonder and trepidation. "I believe it is a portal, a gateway to the truth we've been seeking." As they stood before the mirror, a figure manifested within its depths, its silhouette a hazy outline against the shifting reflections. The figure spoke, its voice a chilling whisper that sent shivers down their spines. "Gretel, Hansel, you have come far," the figure intoned, its words carrying a weight that echoed through the attic. "But to find redemption, you must confront the darkest parts of yourselves." Gretel's voice quivered as she addressed the figure, her words filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "What must we do?" she asked, her eyes locked on the figure's shadowy form. The figure's voice grew solemn, resonating through the attic like a mournful dirge. "You must face your past, your deepest regrets, and make peace with the choices that led you here," it replied, its voice carrying a sense of inevitability. "Only then can you find the redemption you seek." Hansel's voice rang with determination as he spoke, his words filled with a newfound clarity. "We are ready to confront our past, to face the consequences of our actions," he declared, his eyes locked on the figure in the mirror. "Guide us, show us the way." As the figure's form dissipated, a hidden door appeared in the attic, beckoning them forward. Hansel and Gretel exchanged a resolute glance, their journey nearing its climax. They stepped through the door, descending into a labyrinthine maze of corridors, each one leading them deeper into the recesses of their own guilt and remorse. Little did they know that the true nature of their redemption would be revealed in the labyrinth, where the boundaries of reality would blur and their very identities would be tested. The final chapter of their harrowing journey had begun, and the price they would pay for redemption would be far greater than they ever could have imagined. The air grew thick with an oppressive darkness as Hansel and Gretel descended further into the labyrinth of their own guilt. The walls seemed to close in around them, suffocating their hopes for redemption. Every step echoed with the weight of their past, their hearts heavy with a mixture of fear and resolve. Gretel's voice quivered, her words barely above a whisper. "Hansel, I can't bear this burden any longer," she confessed, her eyes filled with tears. "The weight of our sins is crushing me." Hansel reached out, his hand gently grasping Gretel's, offering a small measure of solace. "We're in this together, Gretel," he assured her, his voice filled with a blend of compassion and determination. "We must keep pushing forward, no matter how dark the path becomes." As they continued deeper into the labyrinth, a faint light flickered in the distance, beckoning them forward. The light grew stronger, revealing a hidden chamber bathed in an eerie glow. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering secrets of the past. A figure stood in the center of the chamber, its form shrouded in darkness. It spoke, its voice a haunting melody that sent chills down their spines. "You have come seeking redemption," the figure intoned, its words echoing through the chamber. "But redemption comes at a price, a sacrifice of the self." Gretel's voice trembled as she addressed the figure, her words filled with a mix of desperation and hope. "What do we need to do?" she asked, her eyes fixed on the enigmatic figure. The figure's voice grew solemn, filled with a weight that matched the gravity of their journey. "You must confront the darkest parts of yourselves," it replied, its voice carrying a sense of inevitability. "Face the truth of your actions, acknowledge the pain you've caused, and make a choice that will define your redemption." Hansel's voice rang with determination as he spoke, his words cutting through the heavy silence. "We will face our demons," he declared, his eyes locked on the figure before them. "We will acknowledge our mistakes and make amends, no matter the cost." As the figure vanished into the shadows, a mirror materialized before them, its surface reflecting their own visages tinged with regret. Hansel and Gretel stared at their reflections, the weight of their choices etched upon their faces. In unison, they whispered, their voices filled with resolve. "We accept the price of redemption. We will face ourselves and find a way to make things right." The mirror shattered, fragments of glass falling to the ground like shards of their shattered past. Through the broken glass, a path emerged, leading them towards the final confrontation with their own darkness. As they stepped onto the path, their hearts pounding with a mix of trepidation and hope, they knew that the true test of their redemption awaited them. The final chapter of their journey had begun, and the price they would pay for their past would be revealed in ways that would forever change the course of their lives. The air grew colder as Hansel and Gretel ventured further into the heart of darkness. The winding path led them to an ancient, dilapidated house that stood as a grim monument to their journey. Its walls whispered with the echoes of their regrets, while its windows seemed to hold the secrets of their redemption. Gretel's voice trembled, her words laced with both fear and determination. "Hansel, can you feel it? This place, it's like a living nightmare," she whispered, her eyes scanning the eerie surroundings. Hansel's voice carried a somber tone as he responded, his voice filled with a resolve that masked his own unease. "Yes, Gretel," he acknowledged, his gaze fixed on the looming house. "But we have come too far to turn back now. We must face whatever awaits us within." As they approached the creaking front door, It swung open with a groan, inviting them into a world where reality twisted and fractured. They stepped inside, their footsteps muffled by the heavy silence that enveloped the house. The rooms were filled with shifting shadows and an unnatural stillness. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, while the very air carried a sense of impending doom. Hansel and Gretel moved cautiously, their eyes darting from one dark corner to the next. In a dimly lit room, they encountered a figure, its form obscured by darkness. It spoke, a voice that seemed to seep into their very bones. "You have come seeking redemption," it murmured, its words a haunting melody. "But redemption comes at a price, a sacrifice of your deepest desires." Gretel's voice wavered as she addressed the mysterious figure, her voice filled with a mix of hope and trepidation. "What must we sacrifice?" she asked, her eyes locked on the enigmatic presence before them. The figure's voice echoed through the room, carrying an air of inevitability. "Your desires have led you astray," it replied, its words weighty with meaning. "To find redemption, you must relinquish that which holds you captive, that which fuels your darkest impulses." Hansel's voice grew resolute as he spoke, his words cutting through the heavy atmosphere. "We will let go of our desires, our selfish wants," he declared, his eyes filled with a newfound determination. "We will choose the path of redemption, no matter the cost." As the figure dissipated into the shadows, a door materialized before them, leading to a hidden chamber. Hansel and Gretel exchanged a glance, their resolve unwavering. They pushed open the door, stepping into a room bathed in a pale, ethereal light. In the center of the room, a pedestal held a single, shimmering object, the embodiment of their desires. They approached it, their hands trembling with conflicting emotions. Gretel's voice quivered as she spoke, her words laced with a mixture of longing and sacrifice. "We must let go," she whispered, her eyes locked on the object of their desires. "We must choose redemption over our own wants." Hansel nodded, his voice filled with a bittersweet determination. "Our desires have led us astray," he admitted, his gaze fixed on Gretel. "But together we can find our way back to the light." With a heavy heart, they turned away from the object, leaving their desires behind. The room faded into darkness as they moved forward, ready to face the final test of their redemption. The true nature of their journey would be revealed in this final chapter, where the boundaries of reality would be shattered and their strength tested to its limits. The price they would pay for their past would be revealed in ways that would forever alter their lives. The air was heavy with an eerie stillness as Hansel and Gretel stepped into the final phase of their harrowing journey. Darkness engulfed the surroundings, a curtain of uncertainty that seemed to shroud their every step. The path ahead twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the heart of their own fears. Gretel's voice quivered, her words a fragile whisper. "Hansel, I can't help but feel a sense of dread," she confessed, her eyes scanning the foreboding landscape. "What awaits us in this final trial?" Hansel's voice resonated with a resolute determination, masking the flicker of doubt within. "We have come too far to turn back now, Gretel," he replied, his voice laced with a mix of determination and apprehension. "Whatever lies ahead, we must face it together." As they pressed on, a thick fog descended, obscuring their vision and heightening their sense of vulnerability. The path seemed to shift beneath their feet, a disorienting maze that tested their resolve. Shadows danced in the periphery, whispering secrets of their past. In the heart of the fog, they encountered a figure, its form an indistinct silhouette. It spoke, its voice a chilling echo that sent shivers down their spines. "You have come seeking redemption," it intoned, its words carrying a weight that resonated through the mist. "But redemption demands sacrifice, a surrender of everything you hold dear. Gretel's voice trembled as she addressed the enigmatic figure, her words tinged with both fear and a glimmer of hope. "What must we sacrifice?" she inquired, her eyes fixed on the figure's elusive form. The figure's voice echoed through the fog, its words dripping with gravitas. "To find redemption, you must confront the truth of who you are," it replied, its voice intertwining with the swirling mist. "You must let go of the masks you wear, the illusions you cling to, and embrace the raw vulnerability that lies within." Hansel's voice, firm and unwavering, cut through the haze. "We will shed our illusions," he declared, his eyes locked on Gretel. "We will face the truth of our past and embrace the vulnerability that comes with seeking redemption." With those words, the figure dissolved into the fog, leaving behind a path that led to a desolate clearing. Hansel and Gretel exchanged a glance, a silent acknowledgement of the challenges that lay ahead. They stepped onto the path, their hearts echoing with a mixture of fear and resilience. In the clearing, an ethereal light illuminated a mirror, its surface reflecting their true selves, stripped of pretense. They approached it, their breaths shallow, their gaze fixed upon their own reflections. Gretel's voice quivered as she spoke, her words filled with a blend of trepidation and acceptance. "This mirror will show us who we truly are," she whispered, her eyes locked on her reflection. "We must face ourselves, the good and the bad." Hansel nodded, his voice resolute as he addressed his own reflection. "No more hiding," he declared, his voice filled with a newfound clarity. "We will confront our flaws, acknowledge our past, and strive for a future built on true redemption." As they stared into the mirror, their reflections began to shift, morphing into a raw and unfiltered depiction of their true selves. The mirror shattered, its fragments falling to the ground like broken illusions. In that moment, Hansel and Gretel embraced their vulnerabilities, their flaws, and the truth of their past. They were reborn, ready to face the final trial that awaited them, the ultimate test of their redemption. In this climactic chapter, the boundaries between reality and nightmare would blur, and the price they would pay for their past would be unveiled in a revelation that would forever change the course of their lives. The world around Hansel and Gretel seemed to warp and twist as they entered the penultimate phase of their transformative journey. The very fabric of reality seemed to fray, revealing a realm teetering on the edge of their deepest fears. Every step they took echoed with uncertainty, their hearts heavy with anticipation and unease. Gretel's voice quivered, her words laced with a mix of apprehension and resolve. "Hansel, can you feel it? This place, it's like a waking nightmare," she whispered, her eyes scanning the distorted landscape. "What lies ahead in this final trial?" Hansel's voice carried a quiet determination, masking the flicker of doubt within. "We have come too far to falter now, Gretel," he replied, his voice filled with a blend of conviction and trepidation. "Whatever awaits us, we must face it together." As they ventured deeper into the twisted realm, reality fractured, giving birth to a labyrinth of shadows and uncertainty. The ground beneath their feet shifted and writhed, a disorienting maze that tested their resilience. Whispers filled the air, sinister voices that seemed to mock their every step. Within this surreal landscape, they encountered a spectral figure, its presence ethereal and enigmatic. It spoke, its voice a haunting echo that reverberated through their souls. "You have journeyed seeking redemption," it intoned, its words carrying a weight that matched the gravity of their quest. "But redemption demands sacrifice, a surrender of your very essence." Gretel's voice trembled as she addressed the enigmatic figure, her words a fragile plea. "What must we sacrifice?" she asked, her eyes fixed on the figure's spectral form. The figure's voice echoed through the distorted realm, its words laced with a sense of inevitability. "To find redemption, you must confront the darkness within," it replied, its voice intertwining with the chilling whispers. "You must relinquish the parts of yourselves that have perpetuated your own suffering." Hansel's voice resonated with determination as he spoke, his eyes locked on Gretel. "We will face our darkness," he declared, his voice filled with a newfound resolve. "We will let go of the patterns that have held us back and embrace the light of redemption." With those words, the spectral figure dissipated, leaving behind a path that led to a desolate clearing. Hansel and Gretel exchanged a knowing glance, a silent acknowledgement of the sacrifices that lay ahead. They stepped onto the path, their hearts echoing with a mixture of fear and determination. In the clearing, a dim light illuminated an altar, upon which lay the remnants of their past selves. They approached it, their breaths shallow, their gaze fixed upon the fragments. Gretel's voice quivered as she spoke, her words infused with a blend of vulnerability and strength. "These fragments represent who we once were," she whispered, her eyes locked on the remnants. "We must release our old selves, our patterns, and embrace the transformation that comes with redemption." Hansel nodded, his voice filled with conviction as he addressed the fragments. "We will let go of our past selves," he declared, his voice carrying a newfound clarity. "We will release the patterns that have bound us and step into the unknown, ready to embrace the redemption that awaits." As they released the remnants of their past, an ethereal energy enveloped them, binding their wounds and propelling them forward. In that moment, Hansel and Gretel embraced the transformation, shedding their old selves and embracing the potential for a brighter future. In this pivotal chapter, the boundaries between reality and nightmare would blur even further, and the price they would pay for their past would be unveiled in a revelation that would forever alter the course of their lives. The atmosphere hung heavy with a palpable tension as Hansel and Gretel entered the climactic phase of their extraordinary odyssey. The world around them seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as if on the precipice of an irreversible transformation. Every step they took echoed with a sense of urgency and trepidation, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. Gretel's voice quivered, her words a fragile whisper. "Hansel, can you feel it? This place, it's like a convergence of all our nightmares," she confessed, her eyes scanning the surreal landscape. "What lies ahead in this final trial?" Hansel's voice carried a resolute resolve, masking the flicker of uncertainty within. "We have come too far to turn back now, Gretel," he replied, his voice laced with a mix of conviction and apprehension. "Whatever awaits us, we must face it together." As they pressed forward, reality itself seemed to warp and twist, revealing a realm that defied comprehension. The very fabric of existence appeared to fray, giving birth to a twisted labyrinth of shifting shadows and distorted illusions. Whispers filled the air, their haunting melodies resonating with their deepest fears. Within this surreal landscape, they encountered a mysterious figure, its form elusive and enigmatic. It spoke, its voice a chilling echo that reverberated through their souls. "You have traversed a path of redemption," it intoned, its words carrying a weight that matched the gravity of their journey. "But redemption demands one final sacrifice, a surrender of all that you hold dear." Gretel's voice trembled as she addressed the enigmatic figure, her words tinged with both fear and determination. "What must we sacrifice?" she inquired, her eyes locked on the figure's inscrutable gaze. The figure's voice echoed through the ethereal realm, its words dripping with a sense of inevitability. "To find true redemption, you must confront the darkness that resides within," it replied, its voice intertwining with the haunting whispers that surrounded them. You must relinquish the safety of familiarity and embrace the uncertainty that awaits. Hansel's voice resonated with a quiet strength as he spoke, his eyes unwavering. We will confront our darkness, he declared, his voice filled with a newfound resolve. We will let go of the illusions that have held us captive and step into the unknown, ready to embrace the redemption that awaits. With those words, the enigmatic figure dissipated, leaving behind a path that led to a desolate precipice. Hansel and Gretel exchanged a determined glance, a silent acknowledgement of the sacrifices that lay ahead. They stepped onto the path, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear and unwavering resolve. On the precipice, an eerie light illuminated an abyss, its depths shrouded in both dread and possibility. They approached it, their breaths shallow, their gaze fixed upon the unknown. Gretel's voice quivered as she spoke, her words infused with a blend of vulnerability and determination. This abyss represents the final test, she whispered, her eyes locked on its foreboding expanse. We must release our fears, our doubts, and embrace the leap of faith that redemption demands. Hansel nodded, his voice steady as he addressed the abyss. We will let go of our fears, he declared, his voice carrying a newfound clarity. We will embrace the uncertainty, ready to leap into the unknown and emerge transformed, redeemed. As they took the leap, their bodies suspended in the void, an indescribable energy coursed through them, igniting their spirits and propelling them forward. In that moment, Hansel and Gretel embraced the ultimate sacrifice, shedding their fears and doubts and surrendering to the transformative power of redemption. In this climactic chapter, the boundaries between reality and nightmare would blur completely, and the price they would pay for their past would be unveiled in a revelation that would forever reshape their lives.